raising $1 million in VC investments from a website. This is about legacy.com. This is what I was working on for the past 3 or so years. So what this is it's a blog post I just jotted down, kind of summarizing where our product got to. But what I'll do is I'll go through the product in its totality, and then after I'll actually show you who I was at this point when we ended up raising the $1 million. Show you kind of how our pitch looked like, and then maybe whatever else could be helpful if you're looking to do something similar. I'm done with the VC track myself, but I know a lot of people are interested in this type of business, so we'll get into that here as well. Okay, so legacy.com, yeah, this is what I started before doing this Canoga Digital stuff. The headline was really simple: come for the rewards, stay for the community. So the idea was that if you're a fan of music, it had the system hadn't really changed much in like the past like 100 years or something. You listen to some music, you collect some merch, you go to a show, and that's basically kind of like how it works, right? The artist makes the money when they get the ticket. A lot of hands in the pie of the artist when it comes to the actual music. I mean, it's an iceberg of entitlements to the money of recorded music. So this is typically how artists make money, and it's the same with like stand-up comedians. It's very similar. You make most of your money when you get the ticket. So we were like, okay, this maybe is an angle, right? So my co-founder and I, Josh, we were like, okay, we can probably do something here. We're both music fans. That qualifies us as having knowledge. So we ended up raising from Wonder Ventures over here. They're the ones who led our round. We raised about $1 million. I really was basically on this idea. And the caveat here also, this is big. This is big 2021 energy, big ZERP energy. What we're also pitching. The reason that they'll typically ask like why now is the question. Our why now was NFTs. So the Web3 was real big in vogue. How we were doing this evolution and of the fan engagement, how we were doing rewards was through NFTs. So I'll probably get into it later. But yeah, it was a membership program similar to Patreon. The idea was for a subscription, you get rewarded for listening to music and collecting merch. What this meant is like you listen to some, Spotify. We had some API hookups to that, like, the top 10 listened to artists in 2022 for your Spotify streams. We were tapping into that API, seeing how much you listened to that person. We also built out a player on our app that tracked how long you were listening. And then we were rewarding you NFTs for those. And then for merch, we had hookups with Shopify, where if you bought something on Shopify, we got notified and we sent you over an NFT as well. So again, when you're trying to raise, it's super helpful to show you're on some type of like, you fit some investor thesis that particular VC is looking for. And it's really easy to tell. You just go on Twitter and see what most of these people are talking about. Look up the word VC thesis. You'll see what it is, and you'll know. Like right now, the big trend is AI. Before it was obviously the Web3 stuff. Before that, I mean, renewables was a really big thing. So find the hot topic, get a team together, string some things together, and like build a product if you see an angle there, and like that's gonna be the pitch. So going back to the product, this is really kind of how it looked. It essentially was, you can imagine like a Patreon where you have a membership experience. So we have top egg earners. This was for this artist, Korean artist, BI. That was like the language that he used. It was like eggs and hearts was kind of his concept. We have like the communities there, the rewards are there, and actually, I got it up right here. This is how it looks like. This is the actual product. So obviously, it's a K-pop store. There's a lot of it's the language support is also there. There's this community here. You can see this posting. It's a lot of people are earning points. They're still talking about him. Lots of engagement here. But yeah, essentially, like going down through this list, right? So this product was all a web app. The idea with doing the web app was it's quick, it's super easy to get up off the ground. There's no wait cycles with an iOS store or something. And we figured if we can show value in the web app, that it'd be enough to justify that next round, and then we can go ahead and build out that mobile app to kind of deepen the experience. So with what we built, and I'll show the landing page later. We got the VC investment from Wonder. They were the ones who led the round. We landed that deal with the K-pop star BI, and we also got comedy legend Bobby Lee and Tiger Belly to work with us, and also do a membership program with us. Like the landing pages are pretty straightforward, and most of this we also added into our pitch, right? You gotta have some type of social proof. You gotta have some overview of what the actual product is. You don't want those folks thinking about like what do you do apart from just a bunch of buzzwords related to the new hot technology. And then we had some like testimonials and FAQs from the fans who were kind of working with it. And I can go to the site still and check it out. So this is really what it is, right? So you have the cool H1, nice interactive elements here. We also did something with Strictly Dumpling here. We worked with West Coast as well. BI isn't here, but I guess we didn't have time to add him into our landing page. This is the kind of describes the product a little bit more in detail. Okay. Right. So yeah, it was a membership web app is what the core of it was. Like I said, that core loop, we try to build in this like game mechanic where, there is some action that you take, and then there's some reward that happens, and then there's some value that's created in between those. So yeah, I mean, we got it out here. Whenever you purchased an album or pre-saved a song on Spotify, it did some action that like the artist manager cared for. We found a way to generate an NFT and behind the scenes, and then sent a link to that particular person to claim it, whether they're a user or not. So it was like an onboarding strategy for this membership program. So yeah, this is how it looked like. These were all kind of cards that were backed by NFTs, and I have a few of them here as well. You see, like, you can see when you jump into it. Yeah, you got. That's bad. All right, cut that part out. Anyway, you can see this is kind of how they all look like. If I go over here. So yeah, these are the collected cards that I have. Jump into here. You say this is you get some behind the scenes stuff that come with that NFT. And this is the thing that we figured out is like, you really don't want to actually use the NFT for much. Like all the on-chain stuff can live on-chain just as like a social proof or just some other external database validation. But most of the value we were actually just creating on the platform itself. So we owned a lot of the value creation. So all of these types of things were all just stuff that we rendered on our side, right? So we can see here the minting is queued. Anyway. Yeah, so we did pretty well. This generated a good amount of revenue for BI. We had a lot of engagement on here. So people really like the product. You can kind of tell with just the engagement of people still on this product after the album has been out for a while now. To Die For. Yeah, so to support that also, by the time we were raising, we also had this admin dashboard built out. Pretty standard kind of management side to the website, so you can just see your program stats at a glance. Yeah, so all of this was built out by the time we went to go raise with Wonder, and when we went to go raise our round. I mean, we built up a lot of this stuff nights and weekends while we were working, and I can show you exactly where I was at in life when I was doing this. So this is just like my LinkedIn. We started August 2020, February 2020. I worked at PlayVersus, and then I had a really good connection with my manager, Josh Walters. So we decided to start working on those nights and weekends. Literally just after talking on one-on-ones, like, hey, can we do this? Is this interesting? 3 months into PlayVersus, we started working on those nights and weekends, and we got it up off the ground, and it took us a while to get to the point where we did the deal with Tiger Belly. We got a lot of the product built out. That much of this kind of core experience was built out already. We had this kind of pitch figured out, and then we also had this. Where is it? Here you go. This admin dashboard side figured out already. So we had a lot built out, and we were already in the market. We were already established. We had some type of like customer traction. We didn't have revenue, but with Tiger Belly, that brought in a lot of users. So we had a lot of like user activity, like 10,000 users on the site. And so like I went to UCSD. I'm not a Ivy League guy. I'm not I don't have Fang or big tech on my resume here. We just hustled and got some initial traction going, and that's what kind of led us to get to that $1 million in VC funding. So I think the real hack was, I guess it's kind of a weird conversation that people have with their managers, like, hey, do you want to start a company? But it worked out well for us, and it worked out well for me. Through my manager, so Josh at the time, he knew Hans, who is also the co-founder, and through Hans is how we got the deal with Tiger Belly, and so that's how it worked. I think it's just like I moved to PlayVersus because I wanted to get into startups, being that PlayVersus had just raised a Series C. So I think naturally it makes sense to that other people who are startup minded would kind of go towards another startup. I feel like that's very natural. Yeah, again, just maybe it's a little bit weird having a conversation with your manager. Like, do you want to start a company yourself? Do you want to co-found a company? But I'd say like you judge the conversation how you will, judge your manager how you will, and if it works out for you, great. I mean, it did for me. Yeah, so that's how that was 3 years of my life was this business. We did pretty well. Hans is running it now full time. I've since stepped away, but yeah, that's legacy.